It's just my crap, man.
That's your crap.
I know it's my crap. You know it's my crap.
Thank you. So, since some of you guys have been talking about gTLDs, I thought I'd come up and chat a little bit. And, I've invested in a good number of these things and have a pretty good overview of a portfolio of them. So I thought I'd share maybe some stats and some thoughts about them as we head along. So,
what's your name?
my name is Michael Berkens, and I've logged that.
Never heard of you.
Who's this guy?
Started a few weeks ago.
How long you been in domaining, pal? You just said you started?
I don't know, I'm only 30, so good chunk in the 30 years, maybe.
You didn't think you were going to get hecklers, huh?
Not the first time. I'm married to Judy, so I still get heckled every day. No problem. So, anyway, so new gTLDs, it's an interesting space. I think Joe is correct. It was, again, as Rick said, the early days of domaining are coming back. There's a unique opportunity in time and space. And I think, those who, in the industry, who had the ability to apply to be a new gTLD registry, that was, a unique time and space that there's a lot of money to be made. So unfortunately, I did not do that. I tried to go a different way. So for registries, very highly profitable for the most part, although obviously there's some not so, like in any other business in the world. From the registered side, as an owner of a bunch of new gTLD domains, I'm going to give you some observations. New gTLDs do get traffic. I don't know if you know that, but they do. Some, significant traffic, 10,000 a year or more for type-in traffic on gTLDs. So some of them make money in parking, even ones that have premium dollars, $100 or $200 a year kind of domains. An example of that would be Obamacare, Obama.care, which is making around $500 a year. I think it's $150 a year renewal. It gets thousands of visitors a year. Some other ones I have a lot of traffic. There's moving.company, there's bank.loans, online.dating, Atlantic.city. So, mostly what you see when you're talking about traffic and new gTLDs, it's natural phrases, things that go together, not necessarily, the most popular extension. It doesn't really matter, how many .company names there's registered. There's good names that do get traffic, and it really is irrelevant to that point how many .company names exist. So I have literally hundreds of names that get at least 1,000 visitors a year. gTLDs totally type it, not advertised, not marketed, not hawked on Twitter or anywhere else. So that's a good thing. There's other gTLDs that are sort of death, in my opinion, and those are the GOs. The .Londons, the .NYCs, Berlins, Tokyos, all death, no traffic, zero, nothing. And in my opinion, should be sort of avoided at all costs. Unless, I've never been the guy to buy for 50 and sell for 100. Never played that game. So I'm not saying that's not possible, but that's not my play. If you're looking to sell something, for at least 4 figures, that's not going to happen most likely. When you look at gTLD sales that have taken place, you really need to separate out those that were sold by the registry and those that were sold by domainers. Because again, you're not a registry, you're a domainer, like I'm a domainer. So if you go, I think Raymond actually published something a few days ago, sort of uncoordinated, but he did, about sales of new gTLDs in 2018 and 19. And if you go through the list, you'll see most of the sales were registry sales. There are a few individual sales. I had one of the top ones in 18, which was talk.show. which seems to be used in some sort of Bitcoin-related deal. You can, I guess, type it in and you'll see what you see. So then we sold that for 50 grand. But it's just not, compared to a .com portfolio, a new gTLD portfolio is going to be expensive. It's expensive to maintain. You're subject to, ICANN's rules on the governance of new gTLDs, which basically allows for price increases by the registry on their own initiative with no oversight or supervision. And Donuts just announced a few days ago, I got a notice from MeetUp, that Donuts' extensions are going up effective October 1st, 2019. And depending on your relationship with your registrar, what you'll wind up paying will vary. But in general, it seems to be like a 30%-ish kind of increase across the board. So it's not getting cheaper. You can lock it in if you want to pay 10 years in advance, you can. That's your right until October 1st. After that, stuff that was in the price tier, say $17 is going to $24. That's a pretty significant increase. And of course, Uniregistry did that with their extensions a couple of 2 years ago. Drastically increased their prices, and so that's part of another downside of the gTLDs. I would say, as a GTD owner and a .com domain owner, the amount of just offers that you will tend to get on gTLDs is extremely low, like shockingly low. Like a $20 offer. Very, very few come across. So long way to go. I guess we're 5 years into it now.
You didn't take it.
I didn't take 20. I'm not getting 20s.
Would you take 30?
I'm not even getting what points. I'm not even getting $20 offers. Like there's no offers on really good gTLDs. Like I don't know, free.email comes to mind. I've never gotten an offer on anything. Not for $5, not for $5,000, not for nothing.
I didn't even know there was a .email extension until today.
There you go. So it's interesting. It's I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. It's overall even if you look at some of the sales, they're just so like the .media. There was Phil Harris sold the .media name for 25 or 20 grand. That was in Raymond's column the other day. But he has hundreds of them. So they're not cheap. They're maybe $50 a year. Do the math. It's a very sell like that. It's just not a very good business proposition, I would say, from the domainer's point of view. You have what you have. Drop some if they're not working out for you. Keep the better ones. I wouldn't advise you getting into it heavy if you're not now. And I'm happy to take questions, whatever you got, except for Rick.
Do you have any traffic in YCs?
I don't. My niece does, if she was in New York.
And they also don't have any traffic?
They have no traffic. Generally, no.
I don't have any, I just wondered.
Yeah, no, they don't. They really don't.
So question
Yeah.
on I come from a place of development, and so one of the questions I have .comer, but if you have developed one, what is like a Google, how does that rank in its algorithm in terms of search?
I think some of the gTLDs, if they're developed, well, they will rank. They will rank. I used to have some really good examples. I don't know offhand, but yeah, they do. And I'm not a developer, so.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, Bill Hartzer has a report that he did, I think, on I want to say it was diamonds or something or another, and then he had one that was on I want to say it was cars. So look up Bill Hartzer and you should see.
He's an SEO kind of guy. That's his forte, his specialty. So he has published some papers and comparing .com names such as yellowdiamonds.com to yellow.diamonds, for example. He's done that, and they seem to rank just fine, just as well. So that's an advantage, I guess, if that's the direction I want to go. But it's getting these really good names could be $400 or $500 a year, $1,000 a year to renew. So
I hold about 2,000 new gTLDs, and My experience, sometimes I'll just take a look in the search engines of our GoDaddy search results to see what's coming up when folks type in the keywords. And I've observed that a lot of times if you type in, let's say, wealth holdings, wealth.holdings will not appear in the search results. So if somebody is going to GoDaddy or another large registrar looking for, and they might be in the market for wealth.holdings, they're not going to find it. They're going to see wealth holdings dot whatever. And so I think a lot of it is a function of just making them, putting them in front of potential end users' eyes. And there might be a problem with the search results there.
Well, and that's the name spinner tools, like, you know, the registrars are using.
That's registrar search versus search engine, Google search. I think we're talking about search engine.
She was talking about search engine. I
Yeah,
think you're
yeah,
talking about GoDaddy.
registrar search. Like in
Registrar
GoDaddy,
search.
yeah.
That's the spinners.
That's the
spinners
domain
that they're
spinner
using.
tool.
That's the
That-
flaw
that
in the domain spinners because they're
each of
not
the
brought up to
registrars
speed yet
have.
on the gTLDs.
I think
But
that's holding,
GoDaddy's here, so maybe you could ask some of them.
I think
But
that's
I
holding
mean,
down
that's
sales.
a different issue than the SEO search
Yes.
results. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I can. Obviously, they're kind of have a war chest and stuff. What can we do as an industry to kind of, you know, with ICA and everything else, we're getting rare on. Just what can we do? Like, feels like we're.
You missed your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there like
Should
is
have
there a
said.
lawsuit? Because again, it's like these things are being done in the back doors. I mean, a lot of this stuff is kind of.
Not really.
How do we get them to provide back into the ecosystem?
Well, I mean, really, I would say any of this stuff has been done in the back doors. I mean, the new gTLD program was kicked around for years, literally, and I went to a lot of those even before Monty. Back in the day, I was going to these ICANN meetings, and all of this was being discussed out in the open, how it should run, how these registries should be managed, and blah blah blah. And there was proposals and comment periods, and so I would say
It was
you
all
could
out
say,
in the forefront.
yeah, you can say there's a lot of criticism you can give to ICANN, but backroom deals is not one of them. But I would say, going back to Rick's point, back in the 2004, 2002, 2005, as an industry, we could have, I think, done something if we would have come together, well-funded, really well-funded. We were all lobbyists, and made the case, but we didn't, and it's gone. So, yes, sir, Mikey.
I also went to a lot of those IT meetings and ran a lot of those working groups. And I'll just back up what Michael just said. The domainers weren't there. I mean, Michael and Monty were there. But where the work gets done is in the working groups, which is a vast amount of work. It's like every week you're on the phone for a couple hours. And the domainers, the only domainer in those calls was me. And I was chairing the goddamn meetings because I didn't have a dog in the hunt. I was mostly there to figure out whether these new gTLDs were gonna make any difference to me at all. And at some point I figured out that they wouldn't. I think I shared a story with Rick one time about how many loaves of bread do you see on the corner grocery store? Well, it used to be there were 6 kinds, now there's 1,000 kinds of bread. It's gonna be hard to sell, you know? But the domainers never came. And so, you know, if there'd been, you know, Phil was there, funded by the ICA, very effective guy, but he was one guy against dozens from the registries, dozens from the registrars, dozens from the copyright IP lawyer industry, dozens from the ISPs, you name it. Everybody was there at the table. Everything is online on the net. It's all open. Your voices weren't raised. Missed the boat.
Yeah, so, and the only people at an ICANN conference that stood up for domainers, if you will, domainers' rights, were Phil, who, you know, I backed back in the day for $10,000 a year, but he got very, you know, cost him a couple $100,000 to go to all these shows, and he's one guy. So that was the ICA, unfortunately. John Berryhill was still, I don't know, but he was an advocate for domainers in general. And Christina Jones, who was general counsel for GoDaddy, at the time, she was really an advocate for domainers as well. So, but those are the only three I really saw. A couple of domainers were kicking around, but very few. So, ship sailed. Okay, hi. Questions? Yep. Yes, sir.
My question is on the new gTLDs.
Yeah.
What I notice is that there's a lot of companies that are experimenting with them in the market. Like I just see them all over the place. And what I'm wondering is, when you think about the evolution of these new gTLDs, how do you see that playing out? You know, for instance, when you have massive companies like Amazon, Google, these largest companies in the world that are behind some of them, over time, just based on their resources and their reach, could they not make those more prominent?
I would say that, I mean, that's always been a thought. You know, I've gone to conferences before. Most of you even heard of gTLDs, where there were big companies that came and spoke. BMW is one I remember. Not only did they speak, they had a whole presentation of how they were going to use, you know, .BMW in ads. They had mock-up ads, mock-up billboards, how every component so in a car would have an IP address that would really be a gTLD, and share information and road conditions and car conditions. And there were other really large companies that made these kinds of presentations, which sort of made me, you know, kind of be a bigger believer in gTLDs than, you know, they turned out to be, but they didn't really follow up on any of the plans. Presentations were nice, the commercials are great, the slides, the shows, and all of that, but they didn't do it. So could they do it? They could, but it doesn't seem like they are. Just doesn't seem like they are. So Amazon uses subdomains, pretty much. I mean, I know they have .am. Well, actually, they don't have that Amazon. They're still fighting, I think, over that. But but they have it. So they could, but I don't see it. Yes,
So,
Steve?
so in general, your takeaway at this point on new gTLDs is yay or nay?
As a domain investor,
Yeah.
it would be nay. It would be nay. I mean, there are good ones out there. There are ones that make money. There are ones that get traffic. But, you know, chances of, you know, putting together a portfolio of a few thousand and maintaining the cost of those, especially when they keep jumping up in price, is a nay. Isn't it? Yes, sir.
Have any of the GLDs gone out of business since they've first come about?
They don't go out of business because the rules, the ICANN rules, basically provide for transition to another company. So some have been, you know, bought out. Some have lost money for sure. Some have been sold for, like registrars. Some registrars have, you know, lost their accreditation. And under the ICANN rules, there's a way for other registrars to bid on it. And so the registrar, you know, that goes out of business, their business or their clients and the right domains will switch over to the winning registrar. Same sort of thing with the registry. So they really haven't gone out of business, but not all of them have made money, for sure.
So if you're gonna have somebody that wants to spend $10,000 on a name, I mean, even with .coms, you know, that's a stretch. You gotta have somebody, you gotta have a business that believes they can make $10,001 or they can sell it again in the future from you know, an investor standpoint. I've kind of come to look at gTLDs and, you know, maybe they're a 1/10 of the value of a .com all the way up to a 50th or all the way down to a 50th.
Or zero.
Or zero. And you were saying, you know, even getting into the 4-figure transactions, getting there is tough with gTLDs. So how do you look at, you know, the future of where businesses should spend their money? Because the reality is people that are spending $10,000 and up, not even $100,000. I mean, $100,000, you gotta have a company that's really got some, you know, some kahunas to lay it down. And do you think they're gonna plow that into some gTLD? I seriously doubt it. So how do you see?
Well, there are, I mean, if you're talking about end user companies, or you're talking about domainer companies?
I'm talking about the market in general. And I think the market speaks pretty clearly when it comes to if you want to get above $10,000 on any domain, you know, the odds are really only with .com. I mean,
Yeah,
make sure there's exceptions,
I would
you know,
agree.
great, you know, but you're paying, you know, a multiple on the registration, and then you're not getting the long-term value. So how do you see that, you know, playing out in 20 years?
Well, 20 years is a long time. It's a long time. I just, you know, as we sit today, there's obviously a cap, realistically, on what a gTLD is going to sell for to an end user. There's just a handful of six-figure deals. And again, you got to exclude the registry deals, because that's different. You're not a registry. So, I mean, the highest sale this year was Chad's $333,000 sale, right, of free games. And then the second highest sale is business.club at 60. That's the second highest. And that was sold by the registry under their, I think, 10-year program. They still have that 10-year payment program. So then you're jumping down to the third one, which is support.app 30. That's the third highest this year. So the ceiling is really low on your success, right? .com, you know, I've sold .coms. I know Rick, you know, we've sold .coms that are not worth a few $1,000s for six figures. Can't do that with the gTLD. I mean, the chances are, you know, to some extent, domains, you know, have been a lottery ticket, not two-letter domains or three-letter domains or one-word domain .coms. But you know, when you get to the 2, 3, 4 word .coms, they're kind of a lottery ticket, and, you know, and sometimes you hit. The chance of you hitting on a gTLD is worse than a scratch off, I would say.
on the CPC for parking,
Yeah.
gTLDs,
Yeah.
do you see it varying significantly from the CPC on .coms, or the traffic from a parking standpoint, or are the advertisers bidding on the inventory the same from a bid standpoint?
I think it varies by the topic, the name. I mean, like Obama.care has a high, it's a really high one, and you know, more of a, you know, the loans and the legal. I mean, stuff that has high CPC is still going to have it on gTLDs, and they do get traffic, so they do make money, but you know, the carry cost is high. So if you had 100, if I could take my 100, you know, best or highest traffic gTLDs, you know, dump the rest, I would be making money. But if you have 1,000, if you have 2,000 of them, chances are not good. Yes, sir.
Yeah. With the new gTLDs, I mean, I think it's kind of misleading to think of them all together as one and the same. I mean, you have extensions like .buzz, .horse, and .wtf, where you're probably not going to make a six-figure end-user sale. But you do have extensions like .energy, .global, and .digital, where there are large businesses who might be putting some other budget towards a domain there. So, I mean, I personally, as an investor, just kind of look at it extension by extension rather than, oh, the gTLDs the new extensions are either good or bad. There's good and bad within the bunch.
Yeah, so as I said, the geos are like that, for sure. I think the verticals aren't great, like your, you know, .buzzes and you know, I mean, one letter, you know, domain sounds great until, you know, you realize there's 500 of these and every one of them has one letter, all the letters. So I still think it's more important to, you know, take something like like service.dog. So .dog is not a great extension, probably. But service.dog, you know, gets somewhere 5,000 visitors. People trying to get, you know, little dogs like I have and make them service dogs. So it's a topic, you know. Now, I don't really care how many registrations that dog has because I'm not the registry. So there may be 10 good names in the extension, but if you have the 10, you have the 10. So I have live.football, which, you know, I have college.football. You know, it really does well and pipe-ins and makes money, but again, I don't know how many. I have Alabama.football, which actually makes a lot of money. Go Gators.
What about UF?
Well, you can't do Gators probably. You can't do UF is going to be dangerous. Florida.football is fine. Plenty of football, plenty of high school football, a lot of football. Yes, sir. Dave.
Hey, Michael. It's a two-part question.
Yeah.
First one is,